Welcome to doing NeatO things in Linux. Alright, today I'd like to take a look at this Acer Spin 3 laptop computer that I bought for about $530. I've installed Linux Mint on it, and it is a i5 processor. Very nice, capable processor. I just want to say that's portable, but also capable. It's got a 14-inch Full HD IPS display, whatever that means, but I know it's 14-inch. It says it has a 12-hour battery life. Jury's a little bit out on that one. Webcam is front displaying webcam. It has a little webcam there. If you don't like that, you can cover it up with a piece of tape, whatever, you know. Maybe that's recommended. And it's a spin, so meaning that it turns into a tablet, which is pretty neat. But I prefer it for a laptop. But I mean, the touchscreen is okay. I don't, it's not something I'm crazy about. But it's there if that's something that's important to you. It comes with this little thing for when you close the lid to protect your screen from the keys. I don't really use this thing, but if you need it. So on the right side, there is what you'd expect, the locking thing. The power button to turn it on and off and reset it is right there. There's a USB plug there. There's two on the other side. There's a little slide for there's a little slot here for your SD cards. I have a standard SD card with the micro SD adapter, and you just pop it in there. Now, just so you know, the SD card hangs out about that far out. So the SD card is hanging out about that, and then you got your headphone jack, and you got a few indicator lights for power and charging right here that are not on right now. There's nothing on the front. There's no lights or indicators here. So at the side, you have two USB 3.0 connectors, a HDMI connector for connecting to a larger monitor, and your power connector is here. Thing that kind of a little scares me a little bit because it's so small and it just feels like it's gonna break. So be very careful when moving your laptop while you have it plugged in with this thing here. And another thing it doesn't have an Ethernet jack. So what I ended up doing was I bought this Ethernet jack USB adapter thingy. So this will expand the ports. So if you want more ports for your laptop, I got this thing. I'll have a link to it in the description. Also, I run this with I have a longer cord, and I just sort of set this underneath the desk with all the USB accessories plugged into it, and then I also have it run off the Ethernet connection, so that it have a fast and more reliable connection to the network. And no ports at the back, just the fans. These things, I know they tend to market laptops now as notebooks, not necessarily laptops, because the bottom is where the fans, the airflow is gonna travel. So the air is going to flow through here to cool the processor and the inside electronics. So power supply, as I said before, it's kind of hanging out here, dangling. Sometimes I don't like how it's, and you want to be a little bit careful with the power supply. It's a nice low power supply, and I like the fact that it has Acer written on it. So like if you do lose your power supply, or if you're looking for if you have multiple laptops, you'll know which one is the one for your Acer. I've also seen some tablets like the RCA tablets that have a similar looking power supply, not a USB powered device, which I think that would be a cool way for laptops to go in the future. Is just have like a USB charging thing like how phones do, because it's easier to find. So the way I have mine to start up, it will load up and it will greet you with Acer. Now I got mine set for dual booting, so I can go into Windows and into Linux. So I just go to Windows boot directory. I've done another video on how to set up the dual boot on one of these. It actually is pretty fast for loading. Now this is a hard disk drive, not a solid state drive, so it is a little slower than a solid state. For me, that's not a big deal. I'd rather have hard disk drive in here, but I think there is, from what I saw another person. So this thing here, it says 12-hour battery life. I'm not sure I've actually gotten 12 hours out of it. I guess that all depends on how high your screen brightness is and various factors. When buying this computer, one annoying thing, and another reason why I'm not necessarily a Windows fan, is when I bought this laptop, I took most of the day doing the Windows 10 updates. And I was like, I just want to install Linux on this thing. And so buyer be aware, and I know a lot of you are just going to buy this and use Windows 10 on it, which is fine. But be aware that when you do buy it, it probably will take several hours to do all the updates. With any, I think that's with any laptop that you buy, that you'll have to do all the Windows updates and do all the whole setup. So hopefully when you buy it, you have a good chunk of your day for setting up your computer. So there's your window thing with all the stuff that I don't want on there, that I'm not really interested in. The bloatware. So I've gone to this web page. Now for the touchscreen, this is what I wanted to kind of demonstrate, is you just do this and it's just up scrolling for your touchscreen. Now if you want to put it into tablet mode, you just take the laptop here and you fold it and turn it this way, and it turns there you go. You get the tablet, and it doesn't really, the keyboard's not really being, I don't think it's being affected. No, I'm touching the screen here though. And you can turn it this way, and it'll just change everything. Just similar to what a tablet will be, except it's a Windows 10 tablet. I mean, some people are interested in this feature. I'm not overly concerned about the feature of it being a tablet. I don't even care about touchscreen. It just was a $530 laptop with an i5 processor. That's nice. That has a nice. The size of this thing was what I liked it for. Is for the portability for when I lug it around. It is a smaller screen, but I wanted something just a little bit smaller than my big desktop with these monitors and all that. Just something when I take it with me. It's a little bit bigger than tablet screen, which I like. All right, another interesting thing is where the battery life, it says 12 hours, up to 12 hours. Maybe that's on standby. So I got on this thing with the screen set here. Maybe if I did configure the settings, it's giving me a reading of about, where did that thing say? So right here in the lower corner it says it has 4 hours and 9 minutes. Sometimes it overestimates that. You can always go for best performance here, which is a configuration in the laptop for your battery. Oh, okay, you have best performance and best battery life. So what I found with this is, in Windows it is slower, but I have a feeling some of the reasons why it is running a little bit slower is I don't have it set to best performance. I have it set to best battery life. Alright, what gets me to another thing, it's a bit of a pet peeve, but that's with a lot of laptops these days, is you cannot take the battery out like the older laptops where you can just slide it out and leave the battery out when you're just using it at home. Which is something that about this laptop and in a lot of the newer laptops is when I'm at home using it, it'll say that it's on battery power, but my concern is in 4 to 5 years from now when the battery starts to go on this thing, will it be replaceable? Will I be able to find a battery for this, or will I have to chuck it and get a new battery? Also, 10 years from now, would I be able to still use this even though the battery is completely dead and I'm not going to bother replacing it? But would I still be able to plug it into the wall and use that? Like all these laptops, they're a lot thinner now. If you compare that to an older laptop, these things are a lot thinner now. So that's one thing. So the webcam, I think it's about a 720p webcam. I'm using it through VLC, so my lips won't be totally in sync. It never is in sync with this program. I just use it for go full screen. Well, now I'm out of sync now because I hit pause. That's alright. And here's VLC, like kinda with the bars and everything on top, and then also full screen. So this is what the camera capture looks like. It's a small camera, but hey, if you want to use this for webcam stuff, it's not bad. It's better than some, I guess. Alright, for the touchscreen in Linux, here's one thing I found is there's this program called Touch Egg. There's other videos that go more into detail on it. I just installed what I could find. I couldn't find the GUI configuration tool, but I just installed the bare bones version, and then you have to launch it when you launch your computer. But if you want to use the touchscreen, it allows you to do, you have to double tap with 2 fingers to scroll around in Linux. If you do one, you just get like that signal click that comes default in Linux. But if you want to do that, you can do your, there's scrolls and your right. You can also right click and copy paste. If you double tap it, you can do your right click to get your menus up and all that. So if that's something you're looking for, you want with your Linux computer, TouchEgg is a nice little app that you can launch when you start it up, that you'll be able to use your laptop computer as a tablet. I think it's fun to play with for a day, but really, day-to-day life with this computer, I don't really use the touchscreen part of it a whole lot. But if that's something you're looking for, definitely that's the road I'd like to put you down, is get TouchEgg. One thing I'd like to talk about this thing is when you're using it in a performance mode. Right now it's quiet, but the fan, you can hear it. Like, it's definitely something that you can hear when it's running in the background, especially if you're doing, like I was running OBS. With OBS, very taxing on this on the computer, you can hear the fan in the background. But I think you'll get that with a lot of computers with the fans, especially with something that's going to have this kind of performance. One thing about Linux is, on this laptop, to help optimize the battery power, I've installed this program called TLP, and I've just left it with the default settings. Is what the forums were most recommending, is just put on TLP and leave it for it at its defaults. So what that program does, it does help throttle down your computer. So if you're running battery, it won't run it at full speed have so much performance going on. Another thing to save battery life, tips for battery life that I'd like to read off here. Number one is set up Ubuntu's built-in power settings. So there is built-in power settings to this. You can configure that. Turn off Bluetooth, which I do have turned off on this setting. Yeah, that's another thing. Any kind of wireless or Wi-Fi devices will drain your battery. If you're not on Wi-Fi, you can always turn your Wi-Fi off. Especially, this works with cell phones too. If you turn your Wi-Fi off, you'll increase the battery life, because it will always be looking for all different Wi-Fi routers in your area. Lower your screen settings. I just went through that. Quit apps that you're not using. So if you have an app, like I got an app here called OBS running in the background. If I want to get better life out of that, just close out. That's a taxing. Avoid using Flash. Ooh, there's sort of a thing that's gonna, when possible. With Flash, if you're on YouTube or if you're on Facebook and if you leave your computer sitting, it is going to drain your battery, because those sites particularly are going to have lots of Flash, unless you're going to go in your browser and disable any plugins like that. And bottom of the list here is also install TLP for your battery life. So these are great tips that will help make the battery of this laptop and any laptop that you install Linux on work a lot better. And these videos are edited in Linux using Kdenlive. Some people like to poo-poo on this video editor. I find it does what I need it to do. I've been running most of the videos I made on this channel, I've done in Kdenlive, which has made things really work out really well for me. Some of the settings I really like about this computer is it does have a very high resolution, well, for me anyway, it's very high resolution. It's a 1080p resolution screen. Now, I did have to configure the fonts to make them a little bit bigger so I can see them a little bit better. You can set your resolution settings to about 720 and make everything a little bit bigger, but for certain programs like the video editor and other programs like that, I really like that high resolution setting so I can have more workspace for using my software-defined radio software. It's nice to have that option, those options as well. Another thing is with the HDMI output, I can output to an external monitor, which is great in cases for video editing, because I can output my project as I'm editing. So, for example, in this scenario here, I can so you can keep up to date on all. So I can have it here on the timeline, and I can have my preview of the video up here. So I can have the timeline playing on this monitor, and then I can have my video preview on a full screen monitor, which I like doing while video editing. But with its Intel i5 processor, I find it's quite a capable processor. It's not an i7,
but also at the cost of what I paid for this laptop, I'm getting a good bang for my buck, because I went from using an i3 and now I'm up to an i5. So I'm finding for a lot of the things like production and stuff, it's good to have that i5 for video editing and stuff like that. Like, you can do a video editing, it might lag a little bit in your previews, but when you render it all out, it'll play fine. It's just in the preview mode, it might lag a little bit on you, especially if you're doing HD video.
All right, so I got my computer here on rendering a video. This is going to take 5 more minutes here for Kdenlive. So I got the processor up in here and going. So like core 4 seems to be at 100% a lot of the time, and the other cores are not. Doesn't feel overly hot, which is good for rendering video, because I've had some laptops when I'm rendering a high definition video, it does it okay, but it gets hot. But it's actually not running all the cores all at 100%, which is which has caused computers that I've used to overheat. I don't want that to overheat. I'd rather just take an hour, a couple hours, and do it right instead of crash on me, and then I have to do multiple attempts. So yeah, it's doing Kdenlive, which Kdenlive for rendering, it doesn't use the graphics processor, it uses the core processor. So it uses like this thing here, it uses that chip to process the video. There is tricks and ways you can configure Kdenlive to do that, but I just don't bother. I just do it this way. Now other editors will do it faster. I understand that, but for what I do, my one video, if I'm lucky, I get one video out a week for doing video editing. This is fine for me to leave a computer around rendering. Now I'll use my Tower i7 for most of the heavy lifting video editing stuff. But just to show that this thing, I think in my opinion, I would say this thing is capable of rendering high definition video. Now 4K, it would probably be able to do 4K. It just would take longer. And I don't even bother doing 4K, because like you look at YouTube videos, most people are watching on a phone or a tablet. So 4K, in my opinion, is not overly necessary.
A lot of the laptops I've had over the last several years, I mean, my first laptop in 2006 was this Acer Aspire. It wasn't a spin, but it had a spinning webcam here at the top that would allow me to, I guess, to carry it around and stream video with it back in the day. This was like a dual core. But another thing I found interesting is the size of an older laptop compared to a newer one, and the amount of ports that were in an older laptop, where this one would have things that have disappeared. The older one would have a microphone, 3 audio jacks. It had an SD card reader, network connector, 2 USB cables, SD card reader, and of course, optical drive, DVD-ROM. You don't see that too much anymore. This was so old, it didn't have HDMI. It had a VGA output, and I think that's an S-video monitor. Not sure. I think it's S-video monitor or video output connector, and then the power. Another USB port, and this one's so old, from 2006, it actually has a modem jack, a dial-up modem jack. So just to compare what is in the older computers that are not in anymore. Definitely something I'm enjoying playing with this toy, this computer, this machine. I mean, when you buy a computer, yeah, like I use this a lot. I use it more than when I'm at home. I'm on my computer. Either if it's just web browsing, this thing is great, perfectly capable of it. It has like the feel of it. I don't know if you care about the feel, but it has like this little bit of a plasticky, rubbery feel to it. I hope that doesn't become like that sticky stuff that ends up in a while. The screen has like this finish to it. It's plastic, but it has like this metal feel to it. It also has it in the back of the case here. You see the Acer logo there at the back. Reflective-ish screen-ish thing.
It's not a full keyboard, but definitely if you need something just for on the go. One thing I found out early on with this computer is there is a number lock. So you can see the numeric keys there with the, where would it be? The 789 is 789. The UIO. So if you accidentally hit that key and you notice that the keyboard's not working right, you just find the number lock key, which is, that's a troubleshooting thing I should point out. Here, F12. So F12 is where your number lock is, so you want to be careful of that. That's like one thing early on, without reading the manual, I came across, I was like, what's wrong with the keyboard? So there's those settings that you want to look out for. I think another thing is the volume. Up and down is right up here where the F10 and the volume is where the F10 and F11 buttons are. So to actually full screen and hit F11. So if you want to use your function keys, you have to hit function. For your function keys, you have to press function for some of them, because a lot of them, for example, the screen brightness controls are set to default on the top here. So that's another thing too. If you're using the battery, just set the screen brightness to what you're comfortable. If you want to save on battery life, that's always a big factor. So please give this video a like, share, and subscribe. Also, I have this webpage called freesatellitetv.net that I'd like to tell you about, where if you want to find information about how to get free satellite TV, I've done a lot of tutorials on that type of stuff through my Happy Satellite Nerd videos. So please check those out. In the playlist, just click on those playlists and let it play all day long over and over again and absorb the information to your brain, and it will bless you, and may that be a blessing onto you. So thank you kindly. If you want to, please click on the videos around here at the end of the video, subscribe, or watch what YouTube's algorithm thinks is the most recommended for you, or one of these playlists at the bottom.